Okay, so I'll just start then. Hello, how ya? Welcome. How's it going? Well, the mic is on now, so that's important. Hi, you're here today to see the Building a Community presentation by me, Joseph Barnacle O'Sullivan. And who I am is I run EVE Dublin, and I'm in the Scary Wormhole people. So we're going to go over a few things today. I've got a few prizes and stuff for you as well, and we're just going to go over what it is to sort of run a player meet, but make a deeper community out of that, yeah? So it's not just like go to the pub and stuff, it's other things as well. So, what the overview of the presentation is, we're going to do about me, just why am I here, what is EVE Dublin, because that's the history behind how I'm up here and why I do these things. Where to start your own, just do it, just get on with it. Running the event itself, like the actual, like some of the minutiae of it. Building a community, kind of like extending it beyond a player meet and making it a bit deeper and a bit more meaningful for the attendees. The challenges you'll face, and then a question and answers. Now, the question and answers, we'll see how long we have for it. But to incentivize you guys asking questions, I have 2 EVE Dublin shot glasses for the best 2 questions you get asked. And I have 6 t-shirts to give away as well for good questions I find funny or whatever. But maybe I might do it like the first 6 questions or something like that. They're sort of in like not great sizes. So one of them's like a small, but there's an array. So we can figure it out as we go. Yeah. So, about me. I'm the loud Irish guy. If you know me at all, you know I'm not a quiet man. And I think outgoing is a polite way of saying that most times you hear me long before you'll see me. An example of this is me and my corps mates here, like we run around going whooboo and whatnot around the Harpa during Fanfest every year, and you're kind of hard to miss us. Outgoing, yes. I'm in the Scary Wormhole people. Right, I've been there for 6.5, nearly 7 years now, actually. I used to be a director, so I've done a little bit of everything. I've FC'd, I've done logistics. Now I really just kind of do a bit of PvP, and we do a thing called Story Time with Joseph. It's not always voluntary, but what it is I take up about 80% of all our TeamSpeak traffic for about an hour, maybe. And like it's not even like, I don't even do it on purpose. It just happens sometimes. And people say, oh, what about this? And I'm just like, oh yeah, okay. So it just goes, and that's why I kind of like do these kind of public speaking things and like well used to it. I also go to quite a lot of player meets, right? So in this case, I've been to Fanfest. This is my 6th Fanfest. I've been to 3 EVE Northeast because it's run by my CEO of the Corp. I've been to 3 EVE Glasgow because a guy in our Corp runs that as well. I've been to EVE Nottingham one time because it wasn't on last year, but I went the year before and that was cool because I did the PvP. And I went to Amsterdam for the first time last year because I couldn't get time off before. And like these are all really cool things. And then importantly, then from my perspective, where I get my experience is I run EVE Dublin 6 times so far, and I'm doing another 7th one this year. So there's a bit of history. We're kind of, me and a lot of the guys in my corp were very like social EVE players. We go to meets and talk about like EVE stuff. So this is why I'm up here talking to you today about what the deeper part of the EVE community with regards player meets. So, what's EVE Dublin, right? So this is what goes on. We have a bit of table quizzes here. We start off with like 40 guys. So this is actually the first meet here. Like I just sent out a couple of messages and 40 people showed up at a single day pub event. And it was like, wow, you guys like actually showed up. My God. And then we've had everything from 12 people one time on a 3-day notice because CCP GM Spider just said, hey, I'm going to Dublin and you want a pint. And like 12 people showed up and like no notice at all. But then we've also had 65 people at a 2-day conference / pub meet that sort of has a broader expanding sub-series of events inside it. And that was last year's one, and I only did one that year. We do tons of stuff, right? This is an EVE lore quiz that one of the guys sets up for me. There's like a picture around and all sorts of stuff. We have like swag. CCP sends us over a bunch of stuff. And here's us at last year, just one of the group photos. And then as Goon tradition, this is our Alliance panel with a Goon with the wizard hat at Fanfest. And this guy here is kind of having an existential crisis into his pint. And actually, one of the ways I made the Alliance panel a little bit interesting, I kind of borrowed this from last year's Fanfest Alliance panel, was rather than just get up and like do an ad for your corp, I was like, okay, do an ad for your corp and talk about it, but then tell me why your corp is better than every other corp on the stage, that kind of thing, and it gets a bit of like banter going. So we do all these sort of little things, and it adds up to a little bit of engagement, yeah. So that's my background here with regards how I've done so many meets and what I do at them, and how you get people to like come every time. So then, basically, how you start, right? How you get going and where to start for doing your own event, right, is really important, because people often think, I really want to meet players, and there's none in my area. Like sometimes you hear like people saying like, "Oh, I really wish there was like an EVE somewhere I live." And, like I can never find EVE players. I can never go to them. I hear about these cool things often, Fanfest or EVE Slam or some of the big ones, and I'd love to have something like that in my hometown. But the best thing is you look at evemeet.net, right? You take part of the larger community and you start with seeing if there's a meet in your area. EveMeet.net will tell you, like, this is not just an ad for them, but like they did a great website. It's just very simple. People put up and they drop a pin and it basically says, come here for pints or whatever the meet has. Do some research, right? So the official forums, there's actually a very active-ish, it was medium active sub-forum for out-of-game events, right? It's like about halfway, 3/4 down the page. There's an in-game event, an out-of-game event section, and like devs post in there and ask questions, and people say like, oh yeah, coming in, like if you look at it, like let's say the EVE London meet, like they posted it and within 3 hours there's like 40 posts saying, yeah, I'm going to that, because that's like a really long-running meet that people like really do engage in on the forums. So the forums is not the most active place sometimes for this, but sometimes it can like really actually get you good interest on it. There's loads of Facebook and Twitter groups and stuff, right? So there's the EVE Online Facebook group, there's even a JITA Facebook group, there's like a Wormhole Space Facebook group, and people like post stuff there and say, hey, do you want to meet up? And I advertise my meets there as well. There's Tweetfleet Slack, which has like 1 billion channels on like every topic, and even though like it started off as like a Twitter thing where people who like use Twitter to communicate about EVE, and it just turned into kind of one of the de facto places people hang out. So if you go in there's a meetups channel that mostly just is like Twitter posts of like a bot aggregating the posts of what's on, but people do talk in there about stuff that's coming up in the Fanfest channel. It's like exploding for like the last like 2 months, so people like actually are really active. So you get in there and you find out things. You find out like, is there one in my area? Is anybody interested, or has nobody done it yet? Like, does anyone actually care? You might live in somewhere like Ireland where at first I thought there was an interest, and I dug a bit deeper and I found that there was other stuff actually already going on, and I can do that too, sort of a thing. Whereas, you might find a gap in your area, like, oh, hey, people have asked, and you just keep asking and nothing ever happens. And that can be very helpful, because if you see posts like that going up every now and then, you're like, okay, this is actually something I can do. And, in my case, right, EVE Dublin, there was 2 EVE Dublin meets. They weren't called it. They were just called Come to the Pub, basically. And this guy did them 2 times and then just kind of faded away. But I talked to him and found out how he did it. And like, there was an existing channel for it. Like there's an Irish channel and community and stuff in games. So you find that then like there is sort of a backbone there already, but maybe it's just not active right now. So this is really good, because you can get the necessary groundwork, just like a bit of research for whether, like, you don't want to do an enormous event and have nobody show up. So you figure out like what sort of scale you're talking about, and that brings us on to what type of meet would be good for your area. Like if you've got 100 people, do you book a big giant thing? Do you do a gaming, like pub meet or LAN? A couple of EVE meets are like LANs now and stuff, and they do other things at them too. Do you do a single day event or a multi-day convention or conference, So these things are things you got to ask yourself. If you get loads of responses, maybe you just go straight to convention. Like some of the meets, like Amsterdam actually is a great example. Like they just got like a couple 100 people reply to them on forums, and like boom, it went to big conventions straight off. It's only ever been a 3-day conference. And there's like 300-400 people go to it every year. So maybe you can do that if you're in a giant city or centrally located in the middle of Europe with easy flights. But maybe you just want to go have a few pints with people and talk about EVE for like 5 hours, Do you want venue hire and ticket sales? Do you think that'll push people away? So the research part will tell you in a way, it'll give you a bit of a hint whether this works. Like I transitioned from a single day free event to like a 2-day event with t-shirts and shot glasses and stuff going on and venue hire in a private bar, and you build on it, but I didn't start off that way. So maybe you do go that way and you want to do that because maybe you think there's more effort involved in this than I thought. Maybe I want to do 2 days to figure out, if it's going to be worth my while because it's a lot of work. Maybe do 2 days and spend a bit more time and money doing it, and then you get tickets to cover things, So do whatever you feel comfortable with, basically. You think you gauge on what your personal commitment to it is. If it's like, a pub meet, then it's easy in comparison. But if you want to do the bigger thing, just try it. As long as you're not losing money at it, there's no loss. And ask for help and advice from other meet organisers. So on my Tweetfleet Slack, there's like an entire channel with just people who hang out. And they're like Nash from EVE and like Val from EVE Dublin and stuff. They just hang out and tell you stuff. And you're like, oh, hey, you're on a meet in August? I'm running one. Don't do it at the same time, maybe. And they give you like cool advice, and it works out that way. And then you just do it. just do it. This is Shia LaBeouf going Super Saiyan, getting really enthusiastic about it. So the picking a place and date and place, right, is actually less important. You could pick like next week or next month or give yourself a bit of time, but it's not as important as you think. I just pick whatever date's like 4 months away now, at this stage. But really importantly is don't conflict with something ridiculous. One of the meets that I ran was on during the Rugby World Cup, which in our case, Ireland's actually good at rugby. So half the people at the meet just spent 2-3 hours watching TV and talking about the rugby non-stop. So that's cool if you don't mind that, if you want to really, really casual. But if you have a plan to do like I said, a table quiz or a poker tournament or something, and your guys are just watching TV, then it goes a bit sideways on you. So maybe you think, okay, I'll just look when the Olympics is on, just not do then. There's different things like that. Find a venue, right? Bit of legwork. You gotta go. You gotta talk to them, right? There's a combination of phoning the bigger places and visiting the smaller venues. So if you want a big event, you got to phone them, you got to email them, you got to ask and inquire in advance. They won't just, you don't just walk into a big hotel multi-conference and say, I want to meet with your conference or banqueting manager. You go, hi, I'm interested in your venue. These are the sort of things I'm interested in. Can you give me a show around and look at this, or is this completely mad for your place? And they'll get back to you, honestly. And I've had more than a few places turn me down, actually. But not because it was weird or anything, but because just the venue was either too big or too small, and they knew that straight off, and they can be helpful with you when you're emailing people. But if you just want a pub thing, you walk in and say, hey, you got a room, you look it up online or whatever on their website and say, oh, they got a room, you walk in. Usually pubs, they just show you the room on the spot and say, yeah, you can book this, it's free, as long as you got a few lads drinking or whatever. And then it's a bit easier, but you're going to have to go place to place, which is just a little bit of work. And that is, sometimes publicans will not understand what a gaming event is because they think it's this sort of thing, and they get it stuck in their mind and they just don't want to talk to you. So sometimes you get turned down for venues for no reason other than they don't know you, and then you feel like, oh no, I can't do this, and you're like, okay, there's 400 pubs in my town or whatever, so you get on with it. Yeah, there's more than 400 pubs in Dublin. Yeah, there's a lot of pubs in Dublin. So don't overdo it or burn yourself out, right? I have spent a lot of work sometimes and I get really focused on it, and there's been times where I'm just this is so much energy going into this, and I actually realize I'm not even playing EVE anymore because of it, because I'm just doing this thing, because I'm really pushing the PR or organizing it, and but I'm not doing anything else interesting related to EVE because I'm spending too much time tweeting about this or whatever, and you can get really stressed actually over a really small thing because you think, oh, it's going to look really bad, but actually just if you give yourself a bit of time, you don't end up burning out and you don't get stressed much. And you think, why would I stress over an EVE meet? But when you're the one who's running it, you can get a bit stressed. So it's take it easy basically. And people are generally chill about these things. So you don't have to give everyone all the information, everything at the start and say, oh yeah, this is this and the whole plan. You got time. Advertise the meet and then get on with more details later. In my case, you don't have to do this. I do some activities, like I mentioned with the poker and whatever. During the day, I give them something to do, especially for a 2-day event. just coming to an empty venue and drinking beer is one thing for a pub meet, but talking about Eve, at some point you just get tired and you want to go to lunch, and if you have a schedule of things, that can work too. So in my case, it works. And even the first meet I did like I said, the quiz. That might work for you, but you don't have to think of something totally unique. I rob stuff from other meets all the time. I'm like, ooh, I went to that meet and it was cool. I'm doing that. Plagiarism is easy. Nobody really minds with that, because, to be honest, if you're like 5,000 miles away from that meet that does that thing, like, you're not overlapping at all. But you have to think of something. If you want to do like a bigger meet, you have to have some sort of like hook or thing that you need, and it doesn't have to be like genius. It just has to be fun. It doesn't have to be complicated like EVE and their tournament setup and like dozens of people working on it, but people have to actually want to do it, and it could be a novelty, but it could be like something nobody's ever thought of, and then accept that people will not come. Like, lots of people won't come. Lots of people will come, but lots of people are just like, they have lives and they have families and kids and jobs and just can't get off that weekend because they're going off to some other place. And you'll hear certain phrases like, I'll go next time, like, quite a lot. And that's like very disappointing if you think, like, oh, I'm working really hard. And you're like, no, but sometimes people just can't come to these things. So you just get used to it. And like, you'll just get like 10 people or 5 people, or like some of the meets, like the Toronto meet never gets like over like 30 people or something, but they like, it's like every single month of the year for like 5 years now. Like they've been doing it forever. So it doesn't matter if you don't get 100 people at your meet, because you can also do these like really often consistent, just let's go for like dinner and a pint, or let's go to this bowling alley or whatever. You can do regular meets as well, and just accept that like every month maybe everybody can't go. Like EVE Glasgow, he usually runs 3 or 4 of them every year, and like just half the people don't go half the time, but he still gets a good spread of them. So sometimes I can't. And then once you have this all sort of down, this lots of pile of work, you just announce it. You just throw it up on EVE Meet. You put it up on Twitter. You tell people in your corp. Maybe people in your corp live in your town, and you tell them, hey, I'm having this thing. I've been talking to you about a month. We're actually having it now, and then you just kind of keep doing that, like not too spammy. Anyone, if you have seen any of the EVE Dublin posts, 2 years ago I got a bit too spammy, and we have a channel, and like I was kind of like inviting people in, be like, come to my meet, yeah, it's been really good, and that was a bit obnoxious. So there's levels of like, how much you should do it. But yeah, definitely tell as many people, like use as many platforms as you can. So then you're getting on with the actual thing, right? So everybody's sort of familiar with this: no plan, survive contact with the enemy. It's sort of like an art of war type thing, quote. Can't actually remember the guy who did it, but it's a good quote. There you go. Yeah, so this is very true with a meet. Stuff goes sideways. This is with all event planning, right? Make schedule, right? If you've got your little mini events, if you don't have any events, then it's just go to the pub. Your schedule is show up at the pub and drink. If your schedule is this time there's a presentation here, and this time there's a dev, and this time there's a poker tournament or whatever, then you make it a very simple schedule. And like, just accept that it's going to go very sideways, and your poker tournament or whatever, or your lore quiz or your card game or board games that you're planning on running might start an hour late, and just kind of just like, okay, started an hour late. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did like a big tournament that lasted like 6 hours and was a bit too long, but sometimes it just drags out because people need breaks and stuff. Basically, if it doesn't go to plan, did people have fun? Yeah, as long as people come to Fanfest, like even if the schedule is rubbish and like you don't enjoy any of the content of it, as long as you like have fun with your buddies and meet people, Fanfest is always good. But maybe you just didn't enjoy like the content at the panels. Maybe I'm giving you a bad panel now, but did you enjoy it? Then it's good. If it goes sideways, like I said, like if your presentation is a bit late, and things did go very sideways on me one year. Actually, last year, loads of things went mad because it was the first 2-day thing, and I just moved things a bit, like, and you just sort of improvise and say, okay, we're not going to do that exactly as I had planned, but we will do it, and it will be some other form. Stress is very bad. So last EVE Dublin, the internet didn't work. We didn't. The presentation, the projectors wasn't set up. The barman didn't open the bar. All these sort of really weird things all happened at the same time, and it all happened eventually. The barman did open the bar, and then he came and set up the projector, and then he got me connected to Wi-Fi and stuff, and all these things. But you stress levels can go up and up and up, and then it all just comes together, and you're like, okay, then we can have fun. But you don't stress out. You try not to, at least. And then that way you can enjoy yourself as well. You don't have to, worry or people having fun. If stuff is just happening, fun will happen on its own. And that's the important part. And take mental notes during it. So that if it didn't work, that thing that I planned, you just make a note yourself and then come back to it later. Like, we have a discussion. There's a bunch of us do the meets now. It's not just me who runs EVE Dublin. There's 4 of us now that really contribute. The guys, they're very helpful. We then have a discussion before and after the events about how we're going to do it. And then they give feedback and people give feedback like, oh, hey, I enjoyed this thing, but this could be different. Welcome the feedback. Super important to figure out, that thing you did was not great. Then you should definitely, listen to what people think about it and maybe just completely scrap the idea. Maybe that thing you did was just rubbish or just not fun. Just do something else next year, next time, or next week, whenever you're running it. And then also yourself. At some point, you just kick back and just enjoy it. At some point, your event, the schedule-y part, the things you had planned to do are just finished now, and you just can go enjoy it with the rest of the people, and then it's just on autopilot. And the important part is, if you're running an event, you don't want to be stressed and angry and this isn't working. If you just go have fun, because otherwise you're just never going to do one again if it doesn't work. But no, just enjoy yourself. This is the part where you turn it into more of a community, right? How to extend it, right? So you got the meet, you've got people interested, right? And you want to make this more of a thing than just a one-off. You want to catch people and get them to come back. You want a hook or a deeper communication line with your guys who go to the meet. How many of these people are you going to talk to day to day? You have to talk to them all the time. But you know what? I found that it works really, really well if you actually tie these things together, because then people you build sort of a loose collective of people that are totally unrelated to each other in game, and then suddenly they're having the chats all the time, and it makes it actually genuinely fun. Then when you do have a meet, you're talking to that guy on Discord or whatever, that enemy of yours, and then you go to meet him at Fanfest or at the meet you're running or whatever, and you're like, oh, I know you, and then you have a big chat, and then they come to the meet, and it gets a bit bigger and more active. And even if the numbers don't change attending your meet, the people attending your meet all know each other. Then you get actually a community. And this is the whole point of my presentation. It's building it into friendships from an EVE thing of just total strangers across the internet. All the guys who come to Dublin are totally alien to each other from all over, and now they all know each other. Well, not all of them, but people get on then. You don't have to have Facebook and Twitter, right? I find them useful. I have a Facebook group, or Facebook page rather, just for posting on. People don't really post on it, but I post links to stuff that's coming up. I post stuff about, I'm at this presentation, I'm doing that, or, I post up photos from the previous events. I put the schedule on there. We put up videos. There's an ad for the meet that's running and stuff on the Alliance panel type of thing. I put those things up there, and people just check it out every now and then. And then that way, it's sort of just another bulletin board type thing that you have for sending out information and reaching a wider audience. Helps you then, actually get people to come, because the more of these things you have, Facebook or Twitter, the more people see it. Some people just don't use Facebook. Some people just don't use Twitter. Some people don't use Discord. Almost everybody uses Twitter or Discord or Slack in EVE or some sort of communication. But sometimes you meet people, you talk to them, and they just don't communicate on any social media at all. But there's no harm posting everywhere, because people have their selected preference. And basically, all it takes is one post a month, or every now and then you throw up a picture of the meet and be oh, hey, don't forget where this thing is on. And someone sees and goes, oh yeah, cool, I'll go to that. Very low effort. But you just have to be consistent with positive kind of posts on it, and then it sort of drives itself a bit. And then when people reply and you engage with them, then you can kind of make a thing of it. And actually, that it's a bit of work, right? But once you do that bit of work, it kind of snowballs a bit. In my case, we've got a very active Discord now at this stage. It's over 100 guys that like talk in there pretty much regularly. Have your own Discord, right? Never, if you're going to do this, do not use your Alliance Discord. Nobody's going to join it. Nobody's going to join my Alliance's Discord to come to my meet because that's hostile territory, right? There's no goons joining a PL Discord to go to the goon meet. Like, it's not a thing. Also, this allows me to like set up my own rules. Ping as much as I want. Talk to people who would never talk to me in game because their alliance leader says, "Oh, this is OPSEC, don't talk to it." But they have a chat in the Discord, and just some of the guys come on. We do have like guys from like Slice and Goons and PL and Tess, and they're all just talking to each other. They just don't mention OPSEC stuff. They just talk about like Irishy things, or they talk about the meat, or they talk about like they make fun of each other for like losing capitals and stuff and supers. But then you get the community going, and it just keeps pushing itself and feeding. And in that way, we run a meeting. This guy who like couldn't come 3 times, but came that one time like 2 years ago, but now he's going to come again because he's been talking to you. He goes, "Oh, that's actually really cool." And it's definitely having your own is like super important for the Discord server. And it's actually like where most of our community talk happens actually. In my case, I made an in-game chat channel. This has positives and negatives, as I've mentioned with the spammy invites. Danger territory there. It is good. There's benefits to it. I can set my own MOTD. I can put links to the website for the event. I did make a website. I can do these things that I can't just do. Like, you can't just spam JITA local, You have to have somewhere to talk to people. So I made an in-game channel. It's EVE Dublin. But there's also an EVE NT one. There is not an Amsterdam one, but there's a couple of different chat channels for different. So there's a general meetup channel and stuff. Less people talk in that. But it turns out like sometimes coming up to meets, the EVE Dublin channel then is more active than the Irish channel, because people actually get involved closer to the time. And it takes a little bit of work, and there's like zero moderation required. But it's just a thing there, another way of talking to people. And then I put the Discord link in there as well, and then people join, that kind of a thing. Post updates, just like continue to talk like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing." I gave a version of this presentation 2 weeks ago at a raid con in Dublin, and I just like told people it was going and I went in like it was a stripped down, more generic, non-EVE talk sort of one about how to build your online community with reference to EVE Dublin, but more particularly, stripping out the EVE stuff, so it was more general audience. But I told the guys about it. I posted it. Like, nobody came, but it wasn't an EVE convention. It was like a League of Legends type thing. So it didn't work. But you post updates, and then you get gradual results, right? You don't get like a post in a Discord and then suddenly 100 people show up, right? It goes bit by bit. You get you see results over the space of a year with the community, but also we set up the Discord server, and for months nobody really talked, and more people inviting their friends and having a chat, and then suddenly more people coming, and it just builds and feeds itself. So you just it's a long-term sort of commitment to it, but then you've made a thing, and then you can point at it and say, "This is our guys, and we talked about stuff," and then we go to meets. It makes it more interesting. All right, we get on to the hard bit now. The challenges of all this, right? So you're going to come into problems, right? And I'm going to go into a bit of detail on quite a lot. There's like a block of text here for my notes. A lot of this stuff seems very simple, and I've kind of said about why it's complicated, but finding a venue is super hard at times, because I've had to change venue a couple of times because the venue I took wasn't great, or we got bigger and we couldn't fit there anymore. But that was kind of like pulling nails. The first time I did a thing, it was in a pub that I used to drink in college, because all the nerds go there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, cool, we had that sort of thing all the time, no problem at all." So from that photo way back at the start, they would just they just gave us the space, and we completely occupied every inch of it. So the next time I was like, "Okay, let's not go here because we're just crammed in." And then I had to do the walking around and the phoning part. And honestly, several of the bar owners were just like, "Oh, did you drinking here often, sort of really like defensive, and you're like, oh no, I'm just coming in, I saw your venue hire, that kind of thing, and they're like, oh no, we don't take bookings from people who don't drink here. But that's not that they're actually saying that, that's that they don't want a gaming event because they think maybe gamers are like maybe teenagers who don't drink, and in this case it was a pub meet, so they didn't want it, you know. So sometimes you can face like a total brick wall with venues, and I've been in about 40 of them now. Like I said earlier, some of them, you know, you email them and they get back to you. The last place I did try to book it for the upcoming one, they actually just told me no, not because like they didn't want the venue, it's just they wanted me to guarantee 16 grand of bar sales over 2 days, which is, if you get like 100 people, it's still like €150 spent per day per person on drink, which is insane. Like, that's not going to happen. Yeah, even for an Irishman, that's like a lot, yeah. So that venue is too big because they only take 300 person things, you know. And that was their polite way of saying, listen, this is outside of your price range, you know. And that's fine. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go somewhere else. And actually I went to another place and they were totally fine with it, you know. So explaining what an EVE meet is the tough part about that, because you go in and you say, I want to run this gaming conference, and they're like, oh, a bunch of teenagers playing games. You're like, no. It's a bunch of people, usually in their mid-20s or mid-30s. That's the average age bracket. And they have jobs and money to spend. And we're going to come and chat about games. I want to have a pint or do this. And you explain to them. And they just don't get it, because even though computer games, you know, and especially, let's say, esports being billions of euro, nowadays, actually like €4 billion last year, the general population doesn't understand it, as you well know. So the thing is, if you want to go do this, that's going to be like, you're going to pick a day and say, I'm going to do this, guys, and you're going to then just spend like a week or two just talking to like 10 different pubs. And you might, maybe you walk in a door and the pub is like, oh, hey, you drink here all the time. Yeah, totally have that space. But I find over like 4 years now, it's been a bit interesting of a ride for that. But we've got a place now that's good, and we're doing it in the same place again a second time. No bother now, but, you know, it can be daunting. Getting people to attend, right? Sometimes you try to do it and it seems like nobody's coming. I got 140 people 130 people actually, and a few odd ones, to sign a Google Docs, you know, like a spreadsheet, like a quiz, to say, oh yeah, do you want to come to this meeting? Like 130 people filled it in, and then like 40 people showed up. So you're like, whoa, this is way smaller or whatever. Now I knew there's going to be a certain drop off of people attending, but like if you're doing a free event with free sign-ups on a forums, your numbers attending are going to be like 50% of the people who tell you they're attending. And that comes down to, if they don't have a commitment of price and tickets, they just might have a family thing on. They're going to like a birthday or something, or they just forgot about it. Like that's a huge thing. They're like, you know, they're being evicted from their wormhole, and like they gotta like not leave their computer for 3 days. You know, these kind of things. So sometimes just stuff gets in the way, and your numbers will like go up and down like crazy if you run multiple events. But just you don't let it get used to it. You just get used to it rather, and it is a challenge, and that's the hard part, is actually getting people to come. But you know what? It all works out in the end. You know, I said this already, like, I wish you could make it, I'll go next time. You know, our phrases you're going to get like super familiar with, and you're going to hear it from like 100 people, and then they will show up, and you're like, oh cool, hey, nice to see you again. That kind of thing. But, you know, it's just the nature of these things. Another problem you're going to have is everybody has an opinion, right? Everybody thinks you should be doing your meet a completely different way. Everybody thinks you should be doing your Discord, or you should be banning people more, or maybe you don't talk about this thing in your chat channel, or you should do it the way I do. But I'm going to tell you this now, and I'll never help you with it again, but I'm going to tell you about it. But sometimes they only wait till the event is on to tell you these things. So hindsight is 2020. I could have done this thing if I'd known that thing was possible. So it is interesting, because some of those opinions are fantastic. Sometimes people come up with ideas and you're like, oh my God, I really want to do that next time. I wish I had known. And you're like, thank you. But sometimes you're like, we're in the middle of it. I can't really just change the entire schedule to do this thing that I don't have like planned, organized, or like budgeted for. So we kind of can't really do that. So it is frustrating, but also super helpful as well. So you have to just take every opinion with a pinch of salt, but also you have to, like, it's a good idea to just like make a note of it and like come back to it after the meet and be like, yes, actually next time we're doing that, because sometimes it works out really good. And I have taken people's suggestions and done them at meets, and you're just, some of the stuff that they're suggesting for the next one, you know, I'm looking at a few things that I've never done before, and maybe they'll happen, you know, depending on how it works out. Again, with the stress thing, burnout is a big challenge, right? Now that I've switched to a 2-day event, the workload has gone up a little bit, and coming up to the event, it's going to be a bit more stressful again. But, you know, like I said, I give myself like 5 months to organize it, so it's like easier than like trying to do it in a short, like, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You do it over a while, and you give yourself, I'm going to run one event a year now. I ran 4 events in 2016. That was a dumb idea. I'm never doing that again. Like, some people do it. Like I said, EVE Glasgow does it. EVE Toronto does it. Like, they do it, and it works out really well. I did not enjoy doing 4 meets in a year, especially because I went to 4 other meets in other countries as well. So it was like 8 EVE meets in a year, and it was just like, it like killed me. So I'm not doing that again. But it might work for you. If you've got the energy and the drive, or if your meet is super easy to do for you, regardless of what it is, if you find it like no work at all, run like 10 meets a year. If you can get 100 people come 10 times, if that is your thing, it's working, do it. But just judge, like, after you've run one, if you find out that was too much, maybe you do it less, maybe do it more. It's a personal thing. It comes back to the comfort level of what you want to do and how you do it. And then overthinking and planning, right? Like, I did get in my head a bit when I first did the 2-day one. You can get into this idea that like you're worrying too much about it, and that thing I'm doing, like, is that going to work out? Or like, I did EVE Valkyrie at it last year. Just had like one computer, but so people could play it, and you know, kind of worried a lot about that. And then as it turned out, the internet didn't work for like a while, so that like completely killed that, torpedoed it. And I got like, you know, overthinking it, like how we're going to do this, how we're going to fix it. And in the end, it was just like a guy came and like sorted out the internet for us. But you know, you can really overplan certain things. In that case, I could have totally just not done EVE Valkyrie, and nobody would have kind of noticed for a whole day because we didn't have it anyway. And this comes back to your schedule might go sideways, and like absolutely went sideways. I just, like, that thing in the corner just wasn't going anymore. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, didn't work. Okay, bit stress, get over it, get onto the poker, get onto the something else, get onto whatever, talking to people, you know, doing your alliance panel or whatever. And sometimes, right, this is, I say this, right, so this is up here, it's kind of hanging like a big angry thing that I put here, right? I was banned from the Irish channel in-game, not for spammy invites, because the moderator at the time said that we weren't allowed to talk about Irish meets in the Irish channel for the Irish community. And I was like, what? What? He was like, this isn't what we're here for. We're just here to have casual time. I'm like, but I run like meets. I want to like talk about it, and like I had to make my own channel. Sometimes people just like, they just got a problem with you. Like, it's weird. I don't know what it was. But anyway, that happened. That guy's gone into the game anyway. He doesn't play anymore. I'm not banned. But sometimes people like do get like really aggro for like the strangest of things. So like, that was just a bizarre case of like, you know, something that took like a offense or objection to my ways or whatever our ideas were. He had a notion for this thing. This is his channel, or this is a channel he moderates. So therefore, you're not allowed to talk about that. And that's why I take a super laid back opinion about like the Discord server and our in-game chat. I don't think, like, there's one guy who's banned, but it's only because he was like posting offensive content constantly, like super like not appropriate material. But other than that, like, nobody's banned, and I never like mention it to anyone because you don't need to. Most people just behave themselves. So like, there's no need to be hostile. There's like, you might just come along to people and just tell it like, oh, like, it's rubbish all the time, and you're like, did you come? Like, did you enjoy yourself? Oh yeah, but the thing you did was rubbish. And you're like, okay, then like, you know, if you don't want to come and you don't like it, like, that's okay too. You don't have to, and you don't have to come. But like, you know, sometimes people give you like unnecessarily like, you know, strange opinions that like come across as very, I don't know, very aggressive, you know. But it's it definitely doesn't work for everybody. Eve Meets, Eve Fanfest, all these sort of things, and you just get on with it. You just take it easy, and you do the best you can. Is how it comes. Basically, this whole presentation, how I do my things, how any of the other Eve Meet organizers or guys who run communities, anyone who has a Discord server, you do the best you can for the community you have, and hope it all works out. And if it gets a bit challenging, you get over those hurdles, you get people to help you. We got a few volunteers in our case, you get on with it. And in the end, if the community is going to survive, it's because people want to be part of it. And if people want to be part of it, they'll get over struggles or hurdles. And that basically comes down to, people just generally want to socialize in some way through Eve, or else they wouldn't play a big MMO for 10 years and 15 years and stuff. And in the case of this, all of these challenges are difficult, but, they far the benefits of running a community far outweighs any of these challenges. Some of the stuff that makes it more difficult is small. It's small stuff in comparison to just the fun of going to a meet and running a meet and building a community. And that's basically why we're here. And that's almost the end of my presentation. One thing real quick is a shameless plug. EVE Dublin is on again this year. In 2018, two-day event on August 31st and September 1st. Tickets are €30 because we're upping the ante a bit this year. It's not actually as expensive when you realize what I'm giving for it. It's actually really good. Last year they were €25, so this is a bit of step up, but I need more money to do a few bit things for it. But if you want to come, you do, don't, or whatever. But now we do question and answers, right? If anyone has questions, the two best questions win an EVE Dublin shot glass, and I've got 6 T-shirts to give out. I'll give out the T-shirts to the first 6 people, and then the 2 best ones I'll give these shot glasses to. Yeah, you had your hand up first. Oh, you first? Okay, yeah. That's great. Do we have a mic, or just want to shout?
I'm going to shout.
Okay. Yeah.
So first, it has nothing to do with winning on one of the shot glasses.
That's okay.
And then my questions, 2 questions actually.
Yep.
No, 3 questions actually. For you, what is the best ratio for updates on social media about Twitter, things like that?
Oh, I spam the living daylights out of it. So I do 4 months out now. I'm just posting once a month. Yeah, coming up to the event, I go full crazy man on Twitter and be posting on everything. I cross post from the EVE Dublin Facebook onto the EVE Online, and I think my friends on actual Facebook just hate me sometimes because it just gets really. But I don't do it on my own. There's a couple other people, but it's you get more frequent closer to the event as you start getting to the point that you want people to actually come. 4 months out, there's 5 months, 6 months, a year out. There's no point posting every day. You'll just kill yourself doing it. It'll just be too much work. Yeah.
Second question is about avoiding stress. The thing is, when you work on something that
Yeah.
you don't like, it's easy to avoid stress. You do things you like.
Yeah.
But when you are working on things you like, how do you avoid stressing on this?
Okay, so I don't know if they actually can hear this on the recording, so I'm going to repeat this question. This question is about how do you avoid stress on an event that you like running. Really, you just give yourself more time. This was a bit of a fine-tuning process for me, but you just have to kind of do it and figure out where your stress tolerance is for this. Some things will annoy me more than annoy you. With something that could happen at my event or coming up to my event will drive me nuts, and you could be like, yeah, I don't care. So that's a very personal thing, and I can't really answer that to the point because you'll find out yourself is the answer. Is your other question short? Because there's other people hands up. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. I've absolutely no problem with you buying me a beer. Cheers. That guy was next, yeah?
Also a beer question. Do you think Guinness should be implemented in EVE Online?
Guinness and EVE Online, I'm not sure they'd be good with that on, not just copyright grounds, but I'm not sure they'd fit into the lore. Kind of like the Hello Kitty skins. I'm pretty sure that Falcon is a lore purist. He's not letting that in the game. So yeah, it should be, but I don't think so. I don't think it'll get in. Quaif, exactly. Quaif's in the game. Any other questions? Yep, that guy.
Just out of curiosity for myself, I'm interested in, have you had any experience with the sort of asynchronous parts of the EVE community? I mean specifically fan fiction contests, writers' workshops, secondary content creation. I'm curious about some of that stuff. I'm a musician. I'm curious, is there an organization for
Kind of. Okay, so that question was, am I part of the asynchronous part of the EVE community regarding creation of content like songs or art or, other comic related things that are separate from the game itself, but not necessarily in EVE Meet? I am totally uninvolved in that, and the point is I'm not creative in that way. Like the t-shirts are made by Rick Stravix made the logo for him, and he made the whole t-shirt, but he made the logo and gave me all the files for it for the actual website and stuff. But like I'm not good with creative stuff, so I'm not involved. Like that's kind of more like maybe like the way Streamfleet works. You'd have to talk to somebody like that. I could give you a few pointers, but definitely not my bag anyway. No, unfortunately. Fine. Yeah, so that guy suggested RMT Records from the Imperium. They're a good place to look. Any other question? You had your hand up, yeah?
Yeah. As you start to grow your community, and especially you in particular, obviously with EVE people being how we are, you're going to have people that want to come in from outside just that local general area. Do you kind of shunt them off toward other meetups that someone else might have closer to them? Or do you welcome them in and say, hey, come on?
Okay, so that question was about what happens when your meet grows, like in my case, where people do come internationally. Oh no, absolutely, I take everybody. I will, we've had people from England, Scotland, France, Netherlands, Germany, Ireland, obviously, one guy from America, and there was one guy from really far away. But the point is, if people want to come, they're probably they're roping it in usually to a Greater Ireland trip in the case of Ireland. I am more than happy to say, hey, yeah, buy a ticket, come along. We'd love to have a pint with you. We'll talk to you all about EVE stuff, because anyone is welcome at most EVE meets. Some people, like the guy from the Netherlands, you're like, okay, why don't you go to EVE Summit? He just goes to both. Like, I go to a lot of meets, so the people who do that, they will generally be the people who are more active in the community, and going to EVE Dublin won't stop them from going to EVE Nottingham or EVE Amsterdam or something. So I don't say no, go to somebody else's meet, because I just want everybody to come to mine. It's very selfish, but people will pick and choose on their own free will anyway. So, yeah. Gentleman at the back there, yeah. Oh, like websites and stuff, yeah. So in my case, I kind of specifically didn't mention it in the presentation itself, because this changes every year for me. So at the moment, all the EVE Meet organizers, this question was about like event management, so kind of software and websites or tools, right? In this case, we all use Eventbrite, or we used to all use Eventbrite, and then we now all use Yapsody. And the reason for this is a lot of ticketing platforms appear out of nowhere, and they do this great thing where they give you like free fees, no fees on ticket sales up to events certain size, or if you don't have assigned seating, you just have a general admission, no fees at all. And then they get you like 1 year later, suddenly your next event is like 10% fees. So then you go, all right, okay, I'll just switch to the other one. And all the EVE meets are fairly nomadic that way, so they're all currently, not all of them, but a couple of them are on Yapsody now, because Yapsody's after implementing fees, but they're like really, really small. It's like 20 cent or 5. There's a formula there. I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, we used the thing we used at the start because everyone else is using it, and the minute they slap fees, I'm like, ooh, abandoned platform, because it's very like using a social media website. It's like setting up a Facebook account. It's a step by step. All of them are quite good, and you go in, you put in your logo, you put in the dates, you put in like general admission, you click the price, you go through, and like you set up your PayPal or whatever methods. That's a little bit more technical, because if you want to take like credit cards, it gets into like really technical, and you have to set up a like merchant-y thing. But like in the case of like PayPal that I use, everybody takes it. So all the ticketing websites. So I'm not glued or loyal in any way to any of the ticketing software. Simply, I'll just pick the cheapest one, and the one and honestly, I don't care if the interface is ugly either, like, because they all just look like ticky boxes where you put your name in and your t-shirt size to me. So if you have to go to like a really like butt ugly website to buy your ticket, I don't care, because you're only going to be on it like one time ever. So like that one time, and by next year I'll have a new one. So yeah, there are resources, but you kind of just like ask somebody, and like everyone will just say, yeah, that one's cheap at the moment. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, just someone again.
At what point do you kind of have this breakover as far as if you are planning like you talked about the poker tournament, and you had a couple of events on actually in game and things, you're planning these things, at what point do you start accepting other people to come in and say, well, hey, I'd like to do a panel for you? How do you go about scheduling them in, and do you even think about that in the short time that you have?
Yeah, so that question was about how, if I'm adding loads of little events like poker or different things or panels or whatever, or presentations, how do I add in outside help? Like if someone comes to me and says, I want to present at your event, how do I schedule that in? I actually ask people specifically to submit panels, and that's, like I did, we only got the Alliance panel, we got like one other little small panel last year. But well, actually, we did a big Q&A with CCP Sid at the time. But I will take any panel because you realize there's a lot of hours, let's say in my case, in a 2-day event. If people come to you and say, I want to do a panel, you just squeeze them in. You find if you have a special hall just like this, specifically for it, separate to your venue, you just put them in there and the schedule is that smart. We're not talking Fanfest with like 10 different things on at a time. Like you have like 5 events over 2 days. Unless one of your events goes crazy, generally speaking, you just put it on, like you find anywhere in the middle of the day, not too early, so because people are actually there. So like 3, 4 o'clock or whatever, you put on a thing, or 5 o'clock, depending on when your event starts, and you just do it. And it's generally speaking, EVE meets don't have that many presentations. The most I've seen is Amsterdam and EVE NT have a lot of presentations at them in big convention center, but they have no problem because there's nothing else going on at the same time. When the presentation on, everything else stops. In my case, I've just like a one big room that can fit like over 100 people, and I just say, all right, presentation time, everyone sit down and shut up and just like watch this, and I just like do it. And if you don't want to be like pay, you can still go over to the bar because it's far enough away that you're not interrupting the presentation, and they have microphone setups and stuff, so I just do it, and it's never a problem so far. Now if my event was suddenly to triple or double in size or whatever, then I would have to do a different thing and have a separate room, but it's very easy to do actually, the scheduling for that. Amazingly. Yes?
How many of the crowd are convinced to come to EVE Dublin because it is the best?
So he's biased. He's wearing an EVE Dublin t-shirt. So his question is how many of the crowd is convinced to come to EVE Dublin. So this is kind of like a giant Seamus plug. I think like I've said Dublin like 40 times at least, but the point wasn't I would love everyone to come, but it is good to tell people how to do this, because EVE meets can be like scary sometimes, or like think, oh, I want to run one, but like how do I do it? But there's enough people to do it. It's like actually it's easier. So yeah, you guys should come if you want, but like
EVE Dublin that I went to last time was my first ever EVE meet or big players, and that small enough meet was enough to convince me to come to this. And Joe does a good job.
you had your hand up, one of the lads in the middle. Yeah, you sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering, the scale here, or the range in EVE is large from a 5-person meet out to 300-400 people in a convention center over multiple days. What kind of approach does CCP have to these meets?
Okay, yeah.
You don't think what they have with CCP by
Yeah, well, I can tell you what my experience is. So that question was, there's loads of different meets from like 5-person to like 300 people. Like there's a very large range of them. What sort of responses, or like how does CCP get themselves involved and help out with that? It varies, right? So CCP has been very good to me and a lot of the other EVE meets, but it can be inconsistent. Not that they're not trying, it's sometimes they have higher priorities, like they're a company. So sometimes, like the pictures I had up here, sometimes they give me loads of swag and that's it. Well, they give me some swag and then that's it. And sometimes they've sent devs. They don't have a flat cutoff point for any of that, and they're never going to make one, because they've said this, because we used to have a round table with the community team at Fanfest about what they will do with the meets, and people kept trying to hammer them to try to like, oh, hey, if I get 15 people, will you get like a dev to come over? It's like, okay, yeah, but like Goons or someone big could get like a 50-person meet like 10 times a year in every city. So, you can't like make a formalized thing for it, because sometimes you just got to send like 20 devs to Fanfest or not Fanfest, Vegas or something. So you can't just send them to Dublin as well. So it sort of varies from year to year. If you get a giant meet out of nowhere, the second meet you have, like if you do an Amsterdam on it and immediately go to like big, or if you start selling it, like they'll suddenly, and you say, listen, I sold 150 tickets in a week, give me devs, they'll be very reciprocating to that, and they'll go, yeah, okay, we'll put this on our thing. Or in my case, like there was nothing in Ireland for before, and it kind of sprung up real quick. So they were like, oh, well, actually people are interested, and they were very engaging with me. But there's definitely like, in the case of like EVE Toronto, like they're not going to send a dev to every meet because it's on every month sort of a thing. And like that would be totally unrealistic. Like where the point is like if they're going to send them over to fly, like, you're talking like accommodation flights. There's a whole like it's a couple of grand just to send a dev and swag and time off, and you realize like it's a big commitment, and those devs have to get their days off as well. So it's a big ask to get devs over, and so they send them to like the really big ones, and I'm not even the really big ones, but they sent ones over. Actually, I was clever one year that I got like CCP Affinity. She works like with the lower team in community, not quite community, but lower as well. She came over, but she's like from Northern Ireland, so we like coordinated that when she was like coming home anyway. So that kind of thing happens, you know. But you definitely can't just hope for a dev every time just because you got 100 people. It's kind of up in the air. And now that there kind of isn't a community team, I don't know how that's going to go from now on. It's vague. Do you have your hand up again? Okay. Yeah, that's him there. Do you have another question? Yeah.
Are there sort of established arenas where you can get in touch with them? You mentioned some in Slack for Tweetfleet and stuff where the EVE meet organizers come together. Are CCP involved there?
Not like, yeah, well, unfortunately not on Tweetfleet. There's loads of CCP devs on Tweetfleet Slack, and let's say the Wormhole channel has Wormhole devs in it and the Fanfest one and stuff, but not for meetups because there are like hundreds of meetups now. And like I said, the meetup channel is just like a bot posting like Twitter posts. So it's not a real, that channel is not a real channel. CCP does engage with us, but actually mostly via emails and stuff. So that's like on a personal level. So it's a bit up in the air, and it comes and goes, waxes and wanes, but it's, there's not like an official place that like all meet organizers can get in a room or a Skype or a Discord and talk to devs. There are Discords that CCP uses for talking to people like focus groups and stuff, but to my knowledge, that doesn't include EVE Meet organizers, because as many people go to EVE meets, like remember they're like totally tangential to like CCP as a company, like, and while they are cool, it's not like meets directly funnel subscriptions or something, you know. It's just a cool thing people do, and people do come to meets and subscribe and then come to Fanfest and stuff, but it's not like there's a metric you can say, but like EVE meets so successful, send devs, get money, print plex, you know. It doesn't work like that. So there's not like a super formalized structure. It's more a loose, like haranguing a dev for like help about something, that kind of thing, you know. In my case, yes, because I'm like one of these obsessive wormholer, by the way, wormholer. But no, some people would, and some people wouldn't. But in my case, yeah, I would. But I'm one of the really social people that goes to like Fanfest like all the time and stuff. So in my case, EVE meets it extends EVE to beyond just a game. And yeah, even like running my own meet and like going to meets is one of the reasons I still play EVE for sure. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, in that case, yeah, but I'm like obsessive compulsive when it comes to going to meet. So like, you know, that's a whole different ball game. I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up now because in like 4 minutes there's something else on and we're like out of time. Does anyone have a quick question that they really want to do, or is everyone happy with that? Oh, okay, yes.
What inspired you to start EVE Dublin?
I've been to other meets like Glasgow, and the two guys in my corp run them, and I've been to Fanfest and stuff, and I went, you know, we can do this too. And it turns out there was like a heap of guys who wanted to do it too, and it worked out good, sort of. No, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, my corp got me into it, and other EVE meet organisers did too. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for everyone for coming. Cheers. Now, so actually, just before I go, so for best question, this gentleman asked a load of questions that like had good follow-ups. So I'm going to give it to you, and. Who else? Who asked a really good question that like doesn't have a shot glass already? Go away, you. You already have a shot glass. Yeah, you asked a good question as well, so I'll give it to you as well there.
I was pointing at him.
Oh, pointing. Okay, you can have it then. So basically, anyone who asked a question, come down and grab a T-shirt. If they're not in your size, you can give them. Just come down and get a bunch of T-shirts, guys. Come get them. Thanks for coming. Just come down and take them. Yeah. Please.